Hello friends, I am Vitaly Portnikov. Even the Belarusian dictator Alexander Lukashenko does not believe that soldiers from North Korea will participate in the Russia-Ukraine war. Lukashenko calls such a decision a serious escalation. Nevertheless, the facts that point to the possibility of such participation are multiplying. This means that for the Kremlin, it may be less about the participation of North Korean military personnel in the war, and more about the discussion that the war between Russia and Ukraine is globalizing, that soldiers from third countries are starting to participate, and that the conversation may now involve not only the supply of weapons by states involved in this war, but also soldiers from other countries. Not long ago, Russia indeed asserted that the presence of NATO soldiers on Ukrainian territory would signify a serious escalation of conflicts and threaten those states that were willing to provide such an opportunity to their military personnel, while asserting that it would involve the performance of non-military functions. And now, it seems that Moscow is also ready to invite soldiers from North Korea to the front. Moreover, it is obvious that in order for them to participate in this war, they were watching how the situation was developing on the front. For the Kremlin, the involvement of military personnel from North Korea is also a signal to the West. It is necessary to negotiate with Russia as soon as possible and to withdraw support for Ukraine, and an ongoing attempt to destabilize the situation on the Korean peninsula. South Korea has already reacted to the possible appearance of military personnel from North Korea on the Russia-Ukraine front, and it's clear why. Few took the appearance of Iranian drones in the skies over Ukraine seriously as an element of the globalization of the conflict. It is in vain, as Iran, when it decided to supply weapons to Russia for the war with Ukraine, was already conducting exercises that ultimately led to the expansion of the conflict in the Middle East. And while Iran is limited to supplying weapons, at least because this country does not share a common border with Israel and is primarily interested in elements of missile technology and drones, North Korea and South Korea do have a border. Therefore, the soldiers who will participate in the war between Russia and Ukraine may well be used by the Pyongyang regime in the future for another war, for a war on the Korean peninsula against South Korea. This war, of course, would be in the interests of Pyongyang. The leader of North Korea, Kim Jong-un, may be interested in revenge after the defeat of the Korean communists in the war of the 1940s and 50s. This war is in the interests of Vladimir Putin. The Russian president is convinced that only the globalization of the conflict can help him achieve the necessary success in the post-Soviet space, reduce Western attention to the Russia-Ukraine war, and secure victory over the neighboring country with the subsequent integration of its territories into Russia. But it is absolutely clear that such a development of events is not in the interests of Western countries, which will have to live in a world characterized by a whole series of challenges. Serious local conflicts with unforeseen outcomes and the threat of further globalization of military actions. But is this indeed in China's interests? Putin had a meeting with Chinese President Xi Jinping during the summits in Kazan. I am completely sure that the two leaders could not have failed to discuss the very possibility of military involvement from North Korea in the war of Russia against Ukraine. And if these soldiers do indeed appear on the front after the meeting between Vladimir Putin and Xi Jinping, it would mean that the Russian president received from his Chinese counterpart, if not approval, then at least agreement that Russia can engage in the globalization of the war and create conditions for destabilizing the Korean peninsula itself. And this is indeed a bad signal for the United States and other Western countries. This is a signal that will clearly demonstrate that Russia and North Korea are not acting together with a plan for further destabilization of the modern world. Because no signal is needed here, it is already clear. This will be a signal that Russia and the People's Republic of China are acting together according to a coordinated plan to destabilize the modern world. And at the same time, unlike Russia, unlike North Korea, and unlike Iran, the People's Republic of China is not under sanctions from Western countries and is a key partner of the West. The economic well-being of most Western countries depends on cooperation with China, which means that the West is practically powerless against the efforts of Moscow and Beijing today. He can only watch as Vladimir Putin, Xi Jinping, and Kim Jong-un carry out their plans to undermine international stability. Stay on this channel, subscribe to it, and support its sponsorship and promotion. Good luck.